All these rejections from the middle Bollinger Band.
Resistance we're going to need.
If you actually see here, we get
And we'll look for a healthy higher
I
low.
would not
don't have
be
the
eager
bullseye
to
across
enter
the
a long
structure.
trade.
Hey everyone, hope you're having a good Sunday. Only going to be covering the major three names here, and later tonight doing a video with Nuggets News and Alex from Australia. We're going to look at BCH, OMG, NEO, ZRX, XRP, XLM, ZEC, ICX, POWR, and VEN. He's going to go over very brief fundamentals. I'm going to go over the daily and weekly chart, and we'll have an alt video born. So looking at Bitcoin as we head into today, the bulls are following through beautifully. It's very healthy short-term consolidation at this point. It is still the potential of a bull flag, but we're still a bit of ways away from that resistance as well of 7,687. So we could trade within this range of the low of Saturday and the high of Friday here. We could trade within this range for the next few days. You know, if we come up and form a lower high and then pull back and form a higher low, that could take 2 days to play out. So we could break at any moment, as always, but it does have enough range here, and we've seen enough action, bullish action, without a ton of volume behind it, that would lead me to believe that it is entirely possible to stay within this range for quite a bit longer. So here's this 4-hour time frame, and you can see we've already been in this range for well over 24 hours, and if we do form a lower high and start to consolidate slowly, just like we've been rising slowly, again, that could play out for a couple days. There's a lack of volume right now, so just patiently waiting and watching to see which direction we break. The two scenarios are still prevalent here. If we see a pullback right now, it is still possible to consider this a right shoulder. The high of the left shoulder got up to 75.85, and here we are up to 75.44. So we could pull back and form this right shoulder, and then we would be looking for further consolidation on the daily chart if we do break that low of 72.04 right now. And obviously the second scenario is bullish continuation. The 4-hour bull MACD cross is ready and waiting to go. The RSI, if we break here and tonight, is going to be right back in the 80 range fairly quickly. So we could potentially see, like I said, an inability to break resistance, a little pullback and a higher low, and just continue tightening ranges while these RSI levels continue to cool off a bit. The hourly RSI is approaching 70 as well, which is another potential reason we might have to consolidate a little bit before going for that resistance. And if we lose the hourly higher low pattern, we can see clear hourly higher lows being established. If those are lost, the potential of that right shoulder would increase a bit. But obviously the bulls are still strong. We're up here near the high of the day, and we'll see if we get some volume spikes that head towards that resistance level at 76.87. If we break that level, 77.77 is the next resistance, and then 8,000 psychological. So bottom line is bulls are absolutely just fine at this point. At this point, I probably would exit the rest of my 2/3 of my stop position that I've been holding, should say my swing position, that I've been holding for weeks and weeks at this point. I would exit that at this point if we break 72.04. And that's just because we've seen enough of a bullish action above that move that it will be very clear for the bears if we do break it. And I would probably exit and then start to scale in the low 7,000. All depends on how it looks, if there's a lot of bear volume behind it, where the RSI levels are when it breaks. You know, if the 15-minute RSI is oversold when this support level is about to break, I'm not going to have my stop loss there because we've been seeing some great 15-minute oversold bounces that have led to follow through. And really the only time that we've hit oversold on the 15-minute and right at it, we've bounced 2 times. So those are some factors that would determine whether I move that stop or not. So bulls in full control on Bitcoin. Got a question from a member asking about Europeans. So Europeans are forced to trade in many instances with the euro, BTC, EUR, and they have to match up the chart to try and see this analysis with the US dollar apply to the euro. The good news is that this pattern is extremely similar over the past couple of weeks. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is because liquidity and volume has picked up. So that syncs these markets up. And I feel like the more discrepancies are going to be present when there's less volume, less volatility, and a little bit of euros goes a long way. Whereas when there's a lot of volume going on, a little bit of euros does not go a long way in terms of moving the price. So the daily chart and the 4-hour time frame are both very similar to where we stand with the US dollar. So I would just personally always be looking at both charts. It is an extra step of work that you have to do, but I would be looking at the USD chart for guidance. So I'd look and say, if I'm going to put my stop loss on 72.04 on the dollar, then I'm going to do it on the euro down at the low of consolidation of 61.63. So it's always comparing the two charts. I would use the one with more volume as the lead chart, which is the US dollar. And after that, I would then default to the individual levels on the Euro chart, keeping in mind that there are going to be instances where the wicks go further and could stop you out more easily, in my opinion, or trigger you into a stop buy of a trade where BTC USD is not following along. So again, there's no doubt about it. It is a little bit of a disadvantage. It is a little bit harder to deal with, in my opinion. Just you have to watch a little bit more and always be comparing these two charts to each other. But it is certainly doable, and it does sync up nice and easily at some points, which is where we are right now. So checking in on Ethereum, daily time frame, higher low attempting to be established. Very little follow through on this bounce. Again, not even comparable to the Bitcoin strength in terms of holding up. That doesn't mean that there isn't bullish plays to be had. Like I said yesterday, the bounce had a more solid percentage gain from the low than Bitcoin did. But the weekly chart is ugly. There's no other way around it. If you are a bull on Ethereum on this weekly chart, you're not comfortable right now. There's an upper wick of profit taking. The bulls are not seeing much follow through, and there's really no sign of strength here. And just to look at how different the scenario is for what Bitcoin's weekly chart looks like and what Ethereum's looks like, it's a very big difference. And I would have two completely different scenarios. I'd be very comfortable with this candlestick and not comfortable at all with this candlestick. So have to make note that we are still seeing some relative weakness, and we're going to be the comparison tonight of all these altcoins. We're going to do the BTC pairing so we can have consistency among all of them, but we're going to be watching who's the strongest and who's the weakest compared to what Bitcoin is currently doing, because Bitcoin is seeing its dominance in the space slowly climb back up again. So Litecoin on the daily chart, also trying to form a higher low, also no follow through. Daily inside bar is forming today. Same thing, the weekly chart, very weak. This looks like a bear flag. Absolutely is still a bear flag on the Litecoin chart with the lack of any follow through and the big upper wicks of profit taking. So we do have to be cautious. I mean, if I'm only in Bitcoin right now, but I don't want to see either Litecoin or Ethereum fall apart, because that's only going to make the market a little bit less certain and a little bit more cautious, and perhaps have some implications on everything in the space as well. So at this point, the 4-hour time frame for Litecoin, we have a higher low. The bulls have to see a higher high for any kind of bounce follow through. 81.81 is support, and resistance is 84.69. So there's a tight 4-hour pattern to be watching. And with Ethereum, if we zoom into the 4-hour chart, we can get a similar kind of pattern. A little bit different. We did just head to a higher high, but 457.75 support and 471.74 resistance. These are the channels I'd be watching tonight on these two individual names. And of course on Bitcoin, it's a much wider channel at this point. And I would watch the clear higher low here of 73.40. And if you wanted to use that level as a stop and be a little bit more protective, that would be possible as well. Let's just check in here now where the shorts are on Bitcoin at this point. They haven't been a huge factor recently. Just clicked the wrong one, but haven't seen, major significant shorts or significant sell-offs of those shorts. Definitely sold off when the bull move took place, but here we are potentially seeing a little bear flag on the shorts that's going to lead to more covering. So that's something to be keeping an eye out for, and we'll be heading down. On the weekly chart, we can see that the least amount of shorts that have been in the market is really back down at the start of May, and that brings us back to our March levels. So if we break that with a lower high and lower low, that's going to show a decent amount of confidence in this market, or I should say a lack of confidence in these bears. So we will be watching those levels, but there's always shorts to cover. It's just whether there's an extreme amount of shorts, and right now there's not. So I wouldn't be expecting any kind of short squeeze action or anything like that. It's the kind of scenario where, again, because we've consolidated so minimally on Bitcoin, that I would be looking for the potential of any bull break from these levels, not seeing a ton of follow through. The kind of move where we see a 5% plus move, I don't think that's going to happen where we currently stand right now without any kind of news catalyst, because there are going to be shorts that are looking to enter, again, with 4-hour RSI, if we're approaching up towards 80, if the hourly RSI is overbought, and the daily RSI is approaching 70, there are always going to be shorts that are willing to risk it and get into some of these positions when these RSI levels are this high, and the weekly chart is still in an overall downtrend. So again, if you're making bull break entries, I would have the shorter term mindset in terms of looking at it as a day trade and looking at it to lock in, maybe a couple $100 of profit on Bitcoin in terms of moves to the upside. Whereas that's what my game plan is. And if you want a swing position, in my opinion, you should already be in one. But we'll see. If we pull back, that's going to give a lot of bulls who want a bigger position and opportunities. A lot of bulls waiting for an entry around 7,000. So keeping an eye on that, as well as the daily exponential moving averages keep catching up. So I appreciate you all watching. I hope you all continue to do good things. Again, we'll put that other video out later tonight. It'll be late night, so if you're on the East Coast, maybe just before bedtime, we'll see. I want to talk a little bit about observation. Obviously, observation is really important with technical analysis and charts, but it's remaining an unbiased observer that's so important. And this is just in life in general, not just charts. And I know for me personally, my personality is that of a quiet person. The last 3 years of doing the chart guys and these videos, I would love to see a chart of words spoken per year, because I've probably spoken more words in the last 3 years than I did in the previous 10 years combined. So I'm naturally an observer. I love being in nature, like I've said in the past, and just not moving and observing the surroundings, and even just people watching without myself being a factor. I try and remove myself from the situation, and whether that means just not moving or, you know, not talking, not making any noise, just being in my own little bubble and observing what's going on around me. I try and do that with charts as well. So if you're having any kind of bias, which is really hard to do, I mean, you have to assume there's always some kind of bias, no matter what, no matter how good you are at eliminating it. But I feel like in life situations, if you're able to eliminate any bias and look at, you know, situations from multiple perspectives without establishing, you know, your viewpoint before taking all the information in, I think that's extremely important. And just a correlation I saw between, you know, wanting to do that on charts and remain unbiased, and also doing that in real life, real situations, conflict resolution, whatever it is. So that's my little tidbit. Something weird going on with my chart right now.